got a lot of things
Yes.
going on, so if he doesn't make it, it's all right, we have quorum.
All right, we're good to go. We got no one online.
Okay,
Ready to go.
all right, let's call this meeting to order, the Training and Continuing Education Standing Committee. Roll call, please.
Yes, indeed. All righty. Chair Molmat.
Here.
Commissioner Chatsky is not here yet. Commissioner Benitez.
Here.
Commissioner Inpine.
Here.
Commissioner Flores. Here. All right, that concludes roll call.
Okay, so now let me move on to the chair's report. So I just thought, since we haven't met for a long time and we have new members, that I'd start out by just talking about what our mission is. And what we've talked about before is really working with staff in developing training for commissioners so that they have what they need to do their jobs, that it's easy for them to absorb the information, it's very efficient, not too time consuming. Just really to set commissioners up for success. And we want all this, as much as possible, to be open to the public. We don't want to hide any of our training if we can. And so part of that might be, just throw out there in the back of your mind, like maybe vetting the things. Like maybe each of us could review some things before it goes out to commissioners, so we can say, you know, this thing kind of takes maybe a little too much time, or this one is just right, or maybe we can edit this or whatever. So anyway, so that's kind of the vision. Then looking at kind of where we've been, we had a training committee before it was a standing committee, where we were just kind of hashing things out on Zoom. And now that it's a standing committee, it's different, but we did accomplish a lot. We were trying to develop kind of a curriculum. We called them training academies on a couple topics that actually got adopted by the full commission, and they were attached to your agenda packet. The first one is on onboarding, and the second one is on case review. So that's kind of where that is. And we also have some topics that didn't really get 100% fleshed out that are also things we can draw from moving forward if we want. And also when Paul Parker was our executive director, he did the handbook. And in the attachments to the agenda, you have the handbook. The one thing it was missing was this table of contents. So that's provided for you here in case you want to look at that at all. So, and also this handbook is on the Google Drive, and the two academies are on the Google Drive. So everything's electronic too. I'm trying to make it easy for people to use. So anyhow, that's our foundation, and our new business today, we can kind of dig in. So that's my chair report.
All right.
Moving on.
So I'll do my brief liaison report. I'll also just note for the audio and video record, we still have no one online. If someone does come online, I will let you know.
Perfect.
And if they desire to give public comment, perhaps we can give them an opportunity at that time.
Great.
In terms of my report, first off, I think this is the first time I've ever spoken during a public meeting. So, hi everyone, my name is Ethan Waterman. I'm one of the two investigators underneath Chief Investigator Golu in our division. My role here for the training committee is to be the liaison to help connect the committee to right resources that are on staff, as well as when staff can support in terms of connecting to external agencies. Like for example, Chief Investigator Golu may have insights on how to best prepare trainings regarding certain elements of case reviews. If there is something regarding that needs a contract, I'll need to bring that forward to our senior management analyst, Jaime Jacinto. Aaron Burgess of policy, he obviously has a lot of things mixing around in this general area, so I want to make sure we're coordinating well and not duplicating resources. So those are kind of sorts of things that I'm hoping to try to give here. In terms of any updates that basically have happened in terms of staff involvement since this committee has last met in, what was it, December of last year?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a few things. So we'll talk about this here in a moment. Like Darlene and I worked on this memo that we'll talk about New Business for a Mentorship Program regarding the training recommendation from the pursuit policy recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on getting updates for that. Aaron said that he's looking to get an update from the department by early next week regarding the training materials that they said that they would provide to this agency. But there's also a question about, they said that we're going to give these training materials to staff, but what the commission requested was something more expansive regarding getting SDPD trainings available. We'll talk about that more later too. And finally, just over the last couple months, I've consulted with Chief of Staff Aaron, Executive Director Miesfeld, Chief Investigator Golub, Senior Management Analyst Jacinto about some priorities they have and expertises that they think that they can bring to the table in terms of assisting this training committee. But like some folks are talking mostly about how can we get trainings going as quickly as possible. Some are talking more about what kinds of content. Different people have different priorities. Beyond that though, I really don't have anything more to report. I'm happy to work for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With respect to the pursuit policy recommendations,
Yes.
training for us?
So the recommendation that the commission had made, one of which was that they had asked the department to make the training curriculums of the department
Yeah.
available for commissioners to be able to access in some form or
Yes.
fashion. And then their response was, we're going to get you some vehicle pursuit specific training materials we will provide to staff. That was the language that they used in their response
We'll
To
provide
CPP staff.
to the staff.
to office staff, which is not quite fully congruent with what
Yes.
the request was. So
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Our first step is get that and then perhaps open the door to the thing we asked for.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that part again, right? Okay, any other?
Yeah, I have a question. In terms of training, do we also look at the resources that we have within like the drives and like what we want our training to have as a supportive infrastructure when people see something like, okay, cool, I want to know more about this. Can I reference something within, like manuals, policy guides, like things, historical documents from CRB, like things that maybe we have started with that now we've progressed through to this final training. Is that something that, and maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but
Surprise.
I think of.
So let me see if I
It's what we have him here for.
Let me see if I hear you right. So, basically what you're talking about, like we don't overlook resources that we already exist. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we just have them there and we point to them in the training materials. We're like, hey, we have this. It's
Like
here.
links or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's there for your reference.
Mhm.
Because this is something that you can use that the public cannot, right? Where it's like an unredacted training manual for something specific that you may be able to use as a policy reference.
Right.
Where,
Yeah, we'll have to keep that in mind as we
Yeah.
move through things, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, keep
Yeah, good idea.
building that infrastructure is for education is like,
Right. The one thing that I want to make sure we do, this is my bias,
Mhm.
is that we don't just tell people, oh, look here, and send them down, like just overwhelm them with all of this stuff. You know, I want
Absolutely.
things to be super focused. Like, for example, when I first started on the commission, it was like, hey, go to the NACOL site. You can do any of the NACOL trainings there are. Oh my gosh, there's a million stuff. And like
Yeah.
a new one popped up. I'm like, okay, I'll sign up for that because I want to learn, right? It was like a different language to me.
Yes.
I could not, it was just too much. So that's what I want. Focus. Anyway, I'm violating the Brown Act rules of agenda. So let's move on to new business. Let's just talk. So in trying to set people up for success, the idea was put out there at our December meeting. We talked about maybe setting up a mentorship program. And I'm going to turn it over to Ethan to kind of go over this memo that we put together.
Sure. So this will be like third or fourth page of the primary packet. How this is sort of structured here, I'll just give the preface that I kind of took some feedback from both my partner who is a 1L in law school and Xingyun who went through law school at Cal Western, because they had been through mentorship programs in terms of one-on-one sorts of connections, trying to bring people up to speed. And I thought it might be a useful thing to kind of use in a situation like this. So in essence, the goal of the mentorship program is to foster development, like basically pairing up new commissioners with more experienced, interested commissioners. How it would work is we would basically send out questionnaires both to the new commissioners as well as any prospective mentors, kind of make an assessment of who would be the right fit. And this fit could be, I might want to work with I might feel more comfortable working with a male commissioner, but it could also be something along the lines of, I want to do this specific thing and I want to have someone that has that interest, right? And then once that kind of goes through that process of weeding out, we'll kind of just have a brief orientation, like a half-hour sort of deal, just to kind of bring everyone together in space, kind of set expectations. But ideally speaking, this would be the sort of thing of which the mentor and the mentee kind of like set their dynamic. This would be a relatively low maintenance sort of thing where if you want to do it, go for it. But we're not going to force you to meet in a certain way or have certain guidelines in terms of how you have to like use the program. If it works for you, amazing. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So that's basically what we want to do. We're thinking like general time frame, 6 months-ish, just kind of feel it out, see if it works. Because if it doesn't work or there's things we can work on, then we kind of just update it as it goes. And frankly, the lift's not going to be that big. It's like a little bit of upfront stuff, but then we can kind of let it go.
As a new person that would love a mentor, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's so much. This is fire hose work, right? I mean, everything is a fire hose. It's still a fire hose for those of us that have been around. We came on with the initial
2 years.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you came on shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But it still feels like a fire hose. And so yes, I think that would be.
That's what makes it so crazy. They're 2-year appointments, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so
And I
nuts?
think it
Yes.
will be helpful too to like foster relationships
Yes.
with commissioners. You stay in jobs or in places or in community where you have like a bond outside of the regular space. So I think something like this, that the way you set it up with you pair people based on interests or preferences or personalities, but then also you let them decide how it goes. I think that would be really effective for the
Right.
program.
It's not yet another meeting.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
I like the way this is set up.
Oh, I have one thing to note that I should have briefed you on before the meeting. I spoke with Bart earlier about how he wants to go about this. He recommended this go before the full commission, just to like kind of get the imprimatur of the entire commission. So if we wanted to have an action item on that, we could recommend it go on the agenda for September 17th for approval.
And then,
Oh, for a closed meeting?
So we're gonna have time on the 17th. We have very
Because
few.
we're not behind anymore.
Yeah, we're super ahead. It's really
Okay.
good.
Can I ask if, so like community outreach, right? Like there's a strategy or something like that we create, we can bring that to the executive committee instead and have them vote on it in particular. And then from there, it's something that's done, like for the most part, like, you know, this is an overarching thing that's going to affect everyone, that's going to support their training. But it just makes sense to go from the executive leadership team, have them vote on it and say, this is something we're going to implement from there. Does the commission fully have to vote on something like this if it's going to be something that's not it's not going to be a huge change. It's going to be an integration into our training, something that already exists.
that's a good question.
So from a technical aspect, the executive committee, the question is this something that has to be approved by the full commission? Because some executive committees, not ours, have the authority to act on behalf of the full commission in between meetings. We don't have that authority. So I think if we had to wait a month to do it, right, that would seem like a long time because it would be nice to get this up and running because we have 4, I think, new people. Thank God. Because some of us are wearing a lot of hats. But I think if we have time on the 17th, I think for something like this, I'd like everybody to be in the room because I think there would be more buy-in. I think this is something that it's subject to interpretation. Based on what we've done so far, I don't see that this is something that the full commission would have to vote on,
Yeah,
but it might be a nice buy-in conversation so that
Yeah.
people know it's coming.
And actually, the next full commission meeting is before the next
Executive committee meeting.
So it'll be faster if we do it
Yes.
this way.
well, if I could challenge that as well, like, so we could do that, or we could just give a presentation on what this is and what the vision is, and like have people join us for the meeting to kick it off.
Sure,
Right.
as opposed to seeking a vote,
Yeah, because
present it as an informational.
we're seeking, you know, them to justify why this committee, who has already voted for this to be a thing, would also need agreement from everyone else to be a thing as well.
Well,
Two layers of.
yeah, I hear you.
It's just extending the process further to approval.
These were approved by the full commission.
Yeah, and we're building off of that. We're not creating something entirely brand new. We're just integrating something new within our already existing structure. And so that shouldn't. I mean, I'm sorry. That's
No, I hear you.
Yeah,
I think this
yeah.
is a gray area
Yeah,
thing,
it is
but
gray
and I
area.
don't know that there's anybody on the commission that would be like, I didn't vote for that. You know what I mean? For a mentor program, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be controversial.
No.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying like, because we're gonna have them vote on this, and then are we gonna do a presentation a month later? Like, is there gonna be another step to fully implementing this out, or?
No, I think that's it. I mean,
No, I think that would be it.
then
Because that would be, Ethan will be in touch, or
he'll be
whoever.
sending out the surveys and it'll happen.
And
right?
On your way out the door, sign your name. Pick your name, pick your category,
Okay, cool.
and then you can leave.
And like, if I may,
That sounds good.
we could even have the
Yeah.
materials.
You could have the questionnaire
ready to go,
attached.
like, on that day.
Sure.
Oh, that's great.
We could even
Yeah.
have it like digital too, so we can have access like for both ways. Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
this is everything I just, thank you.
yes,
That's it.
yes.
Ready
to
Easy.
go.
Make it as easy
Okay.
as possible.
Yeah.
All right, so do I have a motion?
I move to accept the recommendations from anybody who made them about a mentor program.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, awesome. And just as a caveat, for that on the 17th, is somebody from this committee willing to do that? Because I'm gonna be out of town.
Well,
Yay!
Great. Yeah, you can really pitch it.
yeah, I'm gonna say, look at this face. I am distraught. I need a mentor.
Yeah.
So we're instilling a program. Yes, happy to do it.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so moving on to the next item on new business, increasing commissioner participation in training, which that title probably is not 100%, because it's not like people haven't been participating in training, right? But really, it's more like, how can we, like, what do we need to be thinking about as the trainings are starting to roll out,
Hmm.
so that they meet those things in our mission of giving the commissioners what they need to know and doing it in a super efficient way, and then going beyond that to having it be engaging and something that is accessible. And I guess the first example of that, which we didn't talk about earlier, is the onboarding training that's happening next week on Tuesday. Is, I guess, one example we'll have of one idea of how to do that. But I just wanted to get your all thoughts about, you know, what kind of feedback can we give to staff, so as they're trying to put trainings together, that it'll be things that are focused,
Mhm.
efficient, I don't know,
You come away knowing it was worth your time.
exactly. And then it meets, like, when we think about, so we come from all different parts of the community, we have all different kinds of lives and different levels of effort we can provide to this commission, keeping all of that in our minds.
So my background, part of it is, like, I have a master's in education and curriculum development.
Hello, welcome to the committee.
Can I suggest
Yeah.
a few things that we know?
Yes.
When you're developing trainings for adults, one of the key components that shows, that gets their buy-in is a roadmap of sorts.
Mhm.
And it basically says, we're gonna take you from point A to point Z, and here are all the markers along the way. And this is how much time these are going to take. Because if we just say, we have 22 trainings and we'd love for you to take them, where do I start? What happened? Like,
Mhm.
the follow through won't come through. So if we, and probably you guys as seasoned commissioners, know this is what they should do first, second, third, like, put them in somewhat of a logical order
Mhm.
and give them a time expectation. And adults and children both love, like, a certificate of achievement.
Mm.
And I think it's something that, again, not because we want a reward for it, but to have something at the end that says, I've completed these, trainings like commissioner level 2, because I have, you know, however you want to phrase it,
Mhm.
that there's like that component at the end. And then you give progress updates. There's a way, depending on what kind of learning platform, LMS, learning management system we use, there's ways to say you've completed 22% of the course, you've completed this, and people like that. Adult learners like to know that they're making progress and see how much they have to go. And then as we're developing, and again, I haven't seen all of the curriculum, but a little like, this is what you're gonna learn. We teach them, we remind them what we just taught them. We test them in some way, shape, or form on what we just taught them, and then we pat them on the back and send them to the next level.
Mhm.
You're a great achiever, you didn't make any mistakes, you're an A student. And so I think that's how you get busy people, busy adults with different interests. And then when we're actually making the curriculum, it has to have some videos in it for people that are auditory learners and visual learners. It has to have, probably a lot to ask for, but I will help. It has to have a component, like an outline component for people that like structure. And then there has to be an interpretive component for people that like to think outside the box. So as we're doing the trainings, like if it's a topic on confidentiality, asking people like, what would you consider a confidential situation? Look at these, is this one? Like that's part of the testing at the end to make sure that they get it and like bring it home to them. So those would be my suggestions on getting adults to follow through.
And if I can add on to you, so I've done internships on instructional design where I work with LMS systems to help integrate microlearning into like courses where we would essentially teach people exactly how you mentioned, where you would have like a course that says, let's say, contract reading, and like you would have 5 little micro courses, and the overall achievement, 100%, you get a little badge, like perfect. You know, like that's an achievement that people feel validated for, you know, achieving. But that's something that's doable. It's just something that we need resources. We need to really ideate on what type of learning management system we would want and how that would look with our specific content. And if we need videos, and if we need, you know, accessibility type things. But I think it's a very good idea because it makes sense for what we have and the amount, the sheer volume of things we have. But it's just about the limitation of what systems we can use and like how fast how much time we have to create these things, and if we can incorporate this content within them. So I'm just, because I think we have the resources, we just don't know. I just need to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
Is that what Success Factors does or no?
Yeah.
So Success Factors is like generally going to be like our home-based platform for at least documenting training completions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the trainings that I'm sure that you guys have had to take kind of have some of these different features in terms of outlines, and you're able to see you're 12% done with the sexual harassment training. You have like an hour to go, and you know whatever it might be. But yeah, that's going to be like the system that's available to us, that's free, that's like you can easily plug and play, I would say.
Oh, so we can create content on that.
Exactly. So for example, for next Tuesday's trainings, our intent is to be able to kind of patch off the 3 different training topics, have those videos be uploaded to Success Factors, and maybe start something along those lines of here's the list of the curriculum that you need to kind of go through as like a new commissioner, or if you're already a commissioner, here's like updated trainings you can take, that kind of thing.
Can we set deadlines on that?
So that was been discussion internally about, okay, if we set deadlines, like, okay, what kind of, are there enforcement mechanisms? Are there things we want to encourage people to do, carrots versus sticks, like those conversations we've had?
I mean, you're not gonna get rid of someone because you're just gonna.
Or just give them little, I mean, a deadline just so it gets done, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of those, like, give me a deadline, I'll do it. If you just say, oh, get to it, I might not.
Yeah, it's the last time I list.
I will not.
Yeah. And then maybe a little reminder or something, so nothing punitive, but just to help nudge the product. This is like, all these ideas are kind of, in a way, a big, it feels like a super cool to do, and maybe will take us a while to get there. Because the way we've done trainings before is in a big room and like just how our commission meetings are. And then there's a camera right there and then that gets saved. And so if you miss it, there you go. So we want to get away from that.
Yeah.
But these ideas are even higher aspirational, I would say. They feel aspirational to me. But I think it would be cool to try and investigate, you know. And maybe one thing, like thinking like next steps kind of thing is having all of us maybe at our leisure, or at least one volunteer or something to look at what has been prepared for Tuesday and see, you know, how that fits in with some of these ideas. Maybe you have some thoughts about that already, Ethan, I don't know.
So I can tell you for sure in terms of what Tuesday's gonna look like, it's gonna be relatively lecture style with a Q&A component.
Right.
But luckily, each of the 3 subjects, I don't think any of them are taking more than 15 to 20. But that's generally the framework that I think Doug and Bart have kind of established for how they want that hour to go.
Is that it? How's it being done?
It'll be done, so Doug, Bart, and I will be basically sitting where Elizabeth is right now. And like they'll be basically have a camera in front of them. We'll be presenting their PowerPoints, so I guess the primary thing on a Teams meeting. Folks like Elizabeth, like Daniel, like David and Michael, they, because there's a new commissioner, still have the ability to do Q&As, whereas current commissioners do to make sure we don't have any Brown Act issues. If they decide to attend, I think the goal is that they would just be observers.
Got it.
Who is responsible for entering the curriculum into the SMART
Success factors.
success factors? Who does that?
So to my understanding, the primary individual who kind of like oversees in terms of what gets put in there, what kind of like when we need compliance with certain things on the staff side in terms of like mandatory training, stuff like that. Is Jaime Jacinto, our senior management analyst. He's the one that can contact, I don't think it's SAP, it's another big company that kind of runs success factors, and we have to send the materials to them. They do the back end work of uploading it, and we can say we want to require this to be done by November 30th, let's say, or whatever the date is.
It's nice that someone else enters it.
Yeah,
This is something that's free to us, or do we have to pay it all?
So it's just part of the infrastructure that we have. It's
Okay.
like it's what
Part of the city of San Diego.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like what you guys use for like the mandatory training, we use
Yeah.
for the mandatory training.
Yes. Because I'm trying to remember the last time that I attended any training. Aside from like, officers coming,
All of our trainings so far
I've been in meetings.
have been part of a full commission meeting, so it'll be like one agenda item on the meeting.
Right, but what about the trainings that we went through so I did a tour of the downtown department. We did that. We went up to what is now was the Chargers training facility off of the 15. Murphy Canyon. We got a whole thing from a guy there's a lawyer and a cop, and I think he was appointed by Newsom for some statewide commission. I don't think he's there anymore. He was really great. He talked about all of the constitutional law stuff that was about stops and searches, and so he's an SCPD lieutenant, I think he was.
Yeah, he was there in uniform, right?
No, he was in a tie and right. And then we got to go do the simulator. Were you in my group?
I went on a different day
Okay.
because we didn't have time to do simulators.
Because you what?
My group didn't have time to do simulators. They ran out of time.
Yeah, because we did the simulator, basically, I was the only one that did it. I'm like, yeah. So you get this sort of mock gun and you have these 3 giant screens in front of you, and basically it's don't kill the innocent person. And so you have people popping up, and you have to constantly turn and shoot the bad guy or determine who might be just turning around and shooting at you. And so this is what officers go through.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that training that the department can provide for us periodically it's totally hands-on too, right? So, in terms of learning, like I can tell that you're someone who can read I hate reading. I'm a lawyer who hates reading. I'm an auditory learner. I got through law school because I listened to all my lectures. And so, the hands-on training, especially that interaction also with the department, and talking to the people in the training department about how officers are trained is very helpful in terms of us thinking,
Actually, I agree with you. I used to work for like High Tech High, like project-based learning. Is,
my kids went there.
Yeah. So I love that type of learning. Environment. Project-based learning is like how you really are able to do this well, and I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Although I do like reading, but I still like that.
Yeah.
Are we gonna bring that back? That sounds like,
Through the department?
yes.
I'm sure that we could ask them if they would, if we had a group of people who never went
Actually,
through
I
it.
think, is that on one of our curriculums that already was established? I'm trying to refresh my memory. It might be on the list that we haven't done yet.
I guess it's 1B of the case review complaints and hands-on
Thank you.
experience.
Oh, whoops, I'm not.
Ride along? No, that's different.
Yes.
And whatever happened to the community group bus thing?
That's 1B, that's the hands-on.
I know, but did
experience.
it ever happen?
We're, this is
It's on the list.
topic.
Okay,
Well, no,
sorry.
we're on
Say we're on
training.
topic.
All right, we're on training. That's, Yasmin and I are still coordinating about that.
Okay.
To do the community ones. But it was a thing.
Here, 2C?
Yes, 2C.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right, so that we're gonna get to training topics to prioritize a
Okay.
little bit. We can talk about that. But getting back to increasing participation, do you think there's any? I think this is probably a no-go, but I just want to throw it out there because this is nothing that you just said, Elizabeth. It's like having people like do background, like watch a video or read up on something, like have a little homework assignment, and then come to a commission meeting and talk about it if there's questions or something like that. Is that something that's a good idea?
I think it's great. People, the people that learn that way and like to share that way will absolutely love, and it will involve, like it will invite in maybe like what I happen to be interested in and want to teach, and like versus what you might be extra interested in and want to teach. I think could be really valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we, like, as we see a topic that lends itself to that, that might be another way, like have some homework and then come to the meeting to talk about it. Okay.
It empowers the commissioners to take some ownership over their learning and responsibility. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Any other thoughts on this item?
I think that's a really good idea. Because I mean, what I remember from like learning about the Brown Act, I know that Wayne had given a presentation, and he added those slides into the agenda.
Mhm.
And so I read the agenda before meeting, and then I asked questions at that point. So is that kind of what you're thinking? Printing, like having that specifically out.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, one it was like, part of the reason I was thinking that way is because this handbook.
Did you get the handbook?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like supporting the frame of my home now.
Oh, good.
That's the largest, most complete fund drive I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, and I told Ethan a little flippantly, it's like, I haven't read this binder, but then just the other day, kind of in preparation for this meeting, I looked at it and I like, oh, well, yes, I know the history of the CPP, and oh, yes, the charter, I know that. Yes, I know the municipal code, the bylaws, I know what they are so far. The operating procedures, I haven't really digested them, but yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I got that. And then Brown Act, okay, then I got to these legal guides. That's where I'm very.
Which ones are they?
That includes like POBAR.
Mm.
And then there's one that's just like a legal source guide. I think I got exposed to that. I haven't looked at it again. But anyway, and then when you look at the operating procedures, well, though, we're in the interim, that's not that big a deal to totally digest. And then all the policies and procedures for the PD, that's like comes up during case review, right?
Mhm.
So actually,
It's an incredible reference.
Oh,
Like, I'm not as clueless as I thought I was, so.
It's just a lot.
it's
Yeah.
a
But the
lot, but
thing-
it's really well
The
put
thing that I
together.
think is, and I don't know if it would lend itself to that, because I looked at the POVAR stuff before this meeting, and that's a lot to digest, so I'm not sure about that. But anyway, so my homework idea was really coming from how do we help people approach this handbook? Because I think it's kind of a little overwhelming all in one big chunk.
Give everyone a section.
Yeah. Which some of these sections are for Tuesday, right?
Couple.
Yeah. So.
And I think too, there's a reason that TED Talks are popular. You can get a lot of learning done in 15 minutes.
Yes,
And people like to hear other people speak.
yes.
I think we should also look at bringing in a police officer that could do a 15-minute training on something. Someone from the legal profession that
Yeah.
can, even though I know there are lawyers on and there are former police officers on, but like bringing in some experts will get people's attention.
Mhm.
And I think it shows the community that we are genuinely trying to learn and take insight from the people that we work with, the people that we're critiquing, the people that we're evaluating. So I think it wins on all fronts.
And what do you all think about, so far, I think we kind of alluded to, they're requirements to do the trainings, right?
Yeah.
But it's softly enforced, right? Is that when you're hearing that?
It's an expectation.
But is your expectation, well, okay, so like the entire thing is expectation of the commission, but like when you're talking about when you're a member of a certain committee, should these be mandatory in that sense? Like when there's specifics, like they're general, like I looked through the entire thing already, but there are pieces of this that were more relevant when I was trying to learn about them to talk on them in a committee. Versus, and so they were specifically needed for that. And I wouldn't have done what I did in that committee without that knowledge. So should they have been mandatory for that? I'd say they should be. Before you are able to be a fully fledged committee member, at least two of those, like two sections, two areas of this should be mandatory. Right? And I think that's much more doable for someone that already has a passion for whatever they're doing in the committee. At least that's, I mean, if I want to be effective at this, I'm going to do that.
And so pointing the committee members, like, okay, you're joining this committee, so this is what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Section 5
first-
and 6 of the binder.
Yeah, first Brown Act, and then, like all the things that really would lend themselves to help that committee member.
To the extent that they exist in the binder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of like telling everyone to learn everything, because they're not gonna do that.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna do that, but I don't,
You're gonna
I'm
do
weird.
that. We need you here.
And I guess the only other thing I said about increasing commissioner participation in, like, these lists look like you're getting your PhD in police oversight, right? Like that, it looks like a lot, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Like there's 15 things on the onboarding thing, and there's, well, it only goes up to number 12, but there's A's and B's.
Yes.
Like, so these are long lists, and so the one thing my opinion is that we can kind of look to staff to how to efficiently, because these aren't, I don't think necessarily these are each individual separate things, right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, the orientation on Tuesdays covering multiple things, right? So anyway, I think staff can help us.
Is the NACOL video?
Oh, so speaking of that Nicole video, I haven't
Number
watched it. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my to-do list because I kind of started watching it and I wasn't in the right frame of mind to pay attention. Are you ever like that? So, but Ethan has helped. He's got a link for me that you don't get commercials I was getting commercials. Didn't I say it was like it was like every 60 seconds or something. It was
Commercials?
a YouTube video.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
YouTube intervenes
hard to
after you
catch.
Yeah.
put something out. Anyway, so he's got one that I can watch, and I was gonna watch it through and see if it's, well, it's like an hour and a half.
Mhm.
So,
And that's the ethics one?
oh, no, I lied, not the ethic ones, that's a 101, police oversight 101 thing,
The one you,
yes.
Oh.
That's a different topic. That's number 10 on the orientation, not number 8. So
I'd love to do that. I never did that.
anyway, an hour and a half seems like kind of too long to me, but I thought, we also want to leverage content that's out there that we don't have to recreate something.
Yes.
So anyhow, that's one of the things I think it would be helpful if we could vet these things rather than say,
Who vets them to make sure it's quality content.
right, it has to be somebody on the commission, right? Or a staff member or somebody, right?
Yeah, I attended a NACOL training recently. It was the one just in the last month about
Post?
Post and about RIPA and about the
Oh.
CLEAR Act, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I found it really interesting, but I felt like they were speaking to a level that was a bit over my head. They were speaking, I think, to staff, not to me. And so I liked it, and I took notes and I looked stuff up and I paused it, because I'm interested in all of these statutes, and how they overlap and, but I think that NACOL is a great source depending on, because they are, they're the association for what we do. So depending on who their target audience is, I think that's a great place to the extent that we can have access to their stuff. So anyway, in terms of vetting, the quality is
But
going to be decent.
those topics that you're talking about, I don't think they're anywhere on this at all.
I know.
And I think they're
And we
super
reference
important.
them, right? Like I have not read POBAR. And I know it's referenced, I know the gist of it, but I've not read it. And most people won't, but then again, I don't like reading. So if you had somebody tell me about it, I'll get it. So, but on Post or on RIPA or, why these things are important, like last night, Tasha. Tasha came up afterwards and was like, there's a Post meeting in Orange County coming up. Can one of you go? And I'm like, for 3 days, I'm like, no. And, but yeah, it's the firehouse. But it's stuff to, at the very least, have a working knowledge. I like to say that I know enough about X to be dangerous. I think that's a good level of knowledge.
For this.
Post is, I don't even remember what it stands for.
Peace Officer Standards and Training.
Yeah, so.
The state has standards for such things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so each law enforcement agency has to meet or exceed the Post requirements in terms of training.
Okay.
They also have a process through which if police officers do exhibit conduct that is beyond the pale in certain ways, they will be decertified, which means they can't just go from SDPD to La Mesa PD. They can't be law enforcement within within California, but then apparently that decertification is also shared nationwide, and some who knows who manages it. What's left of the Department of Justice, I don't know. I don't know who takes care of that, but anyway, but that's what they do. And so they have their regional quarterly or something meeting for a few days coming up in Orange County.
Yeah, Huntington Beach.
In Huntington Beach. And Tasha was asking if any of us are going. And I think it would be nice to ask, because if someone could, maybe Alec. I was thinking, Alec is retired. She's retired. John's retired, but John is leaving the country for 3 months, and I'm so envious. So anyway, if I could quit my job and just do this full time, maybe I would, but I can't. So anyway, but so there are, yeah, but it's really enhanced education so that we can, because there's going to be periodically officers from SDPD that are being discussed at these post meetings. And that was her point, is to really understand that system.
Okay, so getting back to increasing commission participation training, what, like, this is a discussion item,
Yeah.
but we can have like suggestions for moving forward, like what, when we're talking about these ideas, I can communicate, or Ethan, you can share these with Bart, and keeping these things in mind. What else should we do with this item, I guess is my question.
There's a post academy at Miramar College. Have you ever looked into that?
Post Academy?
Yeah, they specifically there for.
I think that might be item C.
Yeah.
A little bit. No, because that's not, that actually post isn't STPD, is it?
No. But I think it might work well for item C though.
Okay, all right,
I can give some clarifying information.
okay, all right. When we get to item C, we can talk about that.
At Miramar?
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. All right, so we have all these ideas. We'll keep them in mind moving forward. Is that where we're at with this agenda item? Okay. All right, so we're ready to move on to C. So, so there's been a lot of talk when we were working on these, making these training academies and moving forward, that like San Diego PD trains on, like, they're operating, I mean, you know, like their policies and procedures, they're the ones that know what the requirements are. Like maybe they're the people who do trainings on things like that. The thing that we did at Murphy Canyon. And then they also have trainings on a variety of topics, like kind of in-service training for their police officers. And those sometimes would have subjects that we would benefit from learning just in general, right? Not necessarily it's about case review or anything. And I had talked to the captain in charge of training and Lindsay is the liaison officer for San Diego PD about us participating in these things. And I got flooded with these lists of all these different things and then told, oh, well, San Diego PD doesn't provide that. That's the sheriff's department. And like, it got really convoluted and confusing for me. But I don't know if we're on the commission yet, but I did share a list of trainings that San Diego PD was offering upcoming with dates and all of that. And said, if anyone's interested in any of these, let me know. Like crickets. So anyway, so there's a lot of different things to this topic. One is like, what's the best way to coordinate on these things? And the other is getting, I guess it's related to coordination, getting an information flow from the PD on this way. And I know the captain's different now. So it was Adam Sharkey before, and I can't remember the name of the guy now. So anyway, so that's, and then Post is kind of also within this. So you want to talk about that?
I guess to briefly clarify what Armando was talking about before in Miramar, they have Post Academy, essentially with how a lot of departments do it in terms of training officers in the state, from what I've seen. Most departments don't train like your cadet level, like from the very, very beginning up to when you're post certified. Most departments basically will have, there will only be one Post Academy per county, for example. And I think Miramar is one for San Diego County.
Yeah.
You take like your 900 hours or whatever number of hours it is to be accredited as a post peace officer. And once you get that accreditation, the department will hire you, but they won't hire you before that. It's kind of like,
so there's no police academy.
Exactly. So then they get trained up furthermore once they have that certification, and they still won't hit the street for some amount of time after they have that certification. But like a lot of that initial training that they get to say that I'm a peace officer in the state of California does not come from the department itself.
But then the San Diego PD does a ton of stuff in-house as well. In-house before they let their officers hit the street, and also in-house for this like in-service continuing education, all those kind of things.
Yeah, Post requires an advanced officer training every other year. And so the department, every other year, every officer has to do this advanced officer training that has a curriculum, as I understand it, that was developed by Post. So, and then they do more than that as well, but that's kind of the the floor.
Alright. And I guess the question is, like, from the community's perspective, we have gotten input in the past, don't get training from San Diego PD, like, depending on what the topic is, like, what's appropriate use of force? Like, it's one thing to learn what their policy is, but it's another thing to learn, like, beyond what San Diego PD thinks, what's the rest of the world think, right?
Right.
Like, the community has been very vocal
Very vocal.
about that. Like, they don't want the PD training us on some things. So that's one category, but then there's, I don't know what the other categories are.
So while I agree, we shouldn't have like them doing the training, but aren't those the rules and responsibilities and like, if that's what they hold their officers to, and those are the policies that they have, then it doesn't matter if they're not the right policies in terms of like national, like is there a national policy that holds all police officers accountable? So then why, yeah, I think we should, but why would we go out to learn other, if they say, oh, a chokehold is an excessive use of force, but the San Diego PD says it's great, it's fine, it's not too much. Well, we can't judge them on that, or we can't say that was wrong if those are their rules.
Right, because that's the standard that we hold them to.
Right, so we should know that standard.
And we make policy change recommendations. So we need to understand what other organizations are doing, how it could be done better, because that's a key area where we have influence or try to have influence over the department. But from an educational standpoint, my language might not be accurate, but I think there's always a concern that even though we are an independent body and our entire purpose is to provide oversight to the SDPD, that we will somehow, the more contact we have, I'm going to pretend you're SDPD, I'm sorry, but the more contact we have, the more indoctrinated we are, or the more, and that's a strong word, but the more aligned we are, the more familiar we are, and that's a concern on the part of the communities that are the most impacted. So to me, this is a yes and situation, right? Yes, I do think we need to be trained by the department because we need to see how they train their officers. And that increases our familiarity with their existing policies and how they're talking about their policies and what their limits are. And we also should be, especially around the use of force, we should be learning about constitutionality and history and what cases have come up and the impact on the community of the policies, right? So I don't think it's an either or. That may be how it's framed by certain community members, but I don't think we should be doing one and not the other. That's the concern, right?
Yeah.
So
I think looking at this, like, having come from a world of education and like, being that the approach we want to take makes sense. We should go that route. Having both would be good for the community because the arguments are strong and they're valid, but we should also like look at what is best for the commission and like what would help people learn. And what would help people learn is really having that insight into the police officers and their training and being trained by them. Like I agree, that's the best approach. We should do that. And so how can we get buy-in at this point from the community to say that is the right approach? To allow them to align with us. That's the goal. Because if we all believe that, then we should go forward with that. But does that mean letting the community know after you've decided, or does that mean asking them and letting them have an opportunity to provide, perspective on why we shouldn't prior to finalizing the decision?
well, it has already been finalized.
Oh, then. Yeah.
But I do think that we need to be super aware that that's not the only source of this information.
Yes.
Right.
When that makes a noise, does that mean someone's joined?
No, we're all good with still the staff and us, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
So who are some police organizations and cities that are doing it right that we would want to look at? Because I think if we said, yes, we are looking at SDPD, but these X, Y, and Z cities have an excellent track record for training their officers. They've been accredited by so-and-so and so-and-so. We're also going to look at these so that we can make recommendations, so that we can speak on their behalf, so that we can learn what others are doing.
Right, and there too, even if it's law enforcement, it's still, it might not be SDPD, but it's law enforcement. But, for example, there are former law enforcement that create a business out of reviewing Jerry Treat, as an example, right? I don't think he's former. Is he former law enforcement? I'm not sure if he is or not.
I don't think so.
But-
Paul was.
Huh?
Well, Paul was.
Paul was.
Yeah.
But the point is that there are people out there that are consultants and trainers that can talk about, okay, this is what the policy says and this is what they train, but this is the reality on the street kind of thing. I feel like there are outside people who could come and speak to us. There are also, I know that I tried to connect you with Julia Yu, who's a local civil rights attorney who often sues the department. I'm actually going to see her this weekend. I will hit her up again and say, you need to come and train us. So, yeah, it's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, on that, I think that, what I would like us to be able to do is, like Julie Yu says, oh, I do these things, then we need to say, this is what we want.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So like, we can't just say, come and train us.
No,
you
of
know what I
course.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
And,
be specific.
And so I think we'll move into the next discussion I'm in a minute, but like, what do we want from San Diego Pete? Like, as we look at these training academies that have already been adopted, and if we get to the point where we're ready to move on to the other topics list that were never adopted by the commission, think about, is this a training we want to get from the PD? Is this, where do we need the outside people? Like, just keeping those things in mind, I think. And then I think if Ethan, you can help facilitate the communication with the PD, with the captain, with Lindsay for what they have, and share with this committee, maybe at our next meeting, so that I don't think it was so great where I just gave the commission a whole big long list and said,
Yes.
oh, let me know if there's anything that you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm hesitating saying, you wean it down to what's important, but maybe, because I want us, because our lens might be different than yours, but I really appreciate your expertise. So maybe like, we could see the list and you could flag the things that you think might be good or something. I don't know, like some kind of, like, I don't know everything you know, so, and I don't want to have to learn about all those topics. You know what I mean? That's where I'm thinking, like, what's how not to overwhelm us as a committee, so then we don't overwhelm commissioners, Sorry, that's buzzing on stuff.
So if I interject?
Yeah.
I just have 2 points, a little bit separate. First one to kind of directly regard on what you were just talking about. I know we had discussed a little bit the idea of kind of doing something akin to what Yasmin demonstrated last night, like having this sort of live calendar of what's available and having it be kind of culled down to certain topic areas of whatever trainings they want to make available to us. And that kind of similar how Yasmin says, I'm going to handle the back end stuff, or Kelsey's going to handle the back end stuff of getting you to the right place and meeting the right person, that I would do something akin to that. We're not there yet in terms of like establishing that relationship with training and having them get to the point at least where like they're giving us at least the list, and then we can kind of start calling it from there. That was going to be my first point. Second point is in terms of things that we could do probably right now that might be a lesser lift, and you folks would have, especially because you two both went on days that you went up to Murphy's Canyon and so on. If you could like share some information about how that, to your best or your recollection, that came about in terms of like who planned it and stuff like that, because it's already happened, that might be an easier lift to get going right away for folks.
Yeah, I have no idea. Charmaine was here.
Yep, I think Charmaine set it up.
It was within our first 90 days, I want to say. And I just,
Charmaine was doing it the way they did it when it was a CRB.
yeah,
Yeah, so we have to be a little careful about that, right?
right.
And that stuff, that cannot be open to the community. The
Mhm.
community cannot go to Murphy Cameron like we did. So-
Correct.
Yeah, so we have to be,
Huh?
What is that?
it's a training
simulator
facility,
training.
Yeah.
The Murphy Canyon facility?
Oh, got it, okay, yeah. the one
But
here.
a lot of the stuff that I learned at that spot didn't have to be at that location. It
Right,
was just the simulator part.
correct.
That community members cannot.
I didn't know that, but sure.
Yeah.
I think, what would be helpful, since, okay, with Brown Act stuff, if it's something that we're gonna have to present to the entire commission or have a discussion at a meeting, then it has to happen with all of us at the entire, at the meetings. The other way is for staff. Staff can email all of us. We can't email each other collectively. Like we can one-on-one,
Yeah.
but we can't, I can't send an email out to the entire commission. I would have Alina do it, or I would ask Ethan to do it, depending on who it is and what it's about, right? And it has to do with, if the purpose of the Brown Act is for us to have open meetings, then we shouldn't have closed communication by email as a group. Right, so we have to be very careful. That's a key part of the training of compliance with the Brown Act, is that if you, let's say you're the chair of a committee one day and you want an email to go out to all the commissioners or half of the commissioners or some group of the commissioners that could violate a quorum of a standing committee, have a staff member do it, because they're not a member of the committee, of the commission, and they can do that. All to say that in terms of what what you did in terms of announcing things at a commission meeting, I don't know how much all of us check our commission email. I know that those of us who've been around for a while, we just kind of have incorporated that. I can do it on my phone, thank God. But I think it might be helpful if maybe every month or every 60 days or something like that, like here's 5 trainings that are coming up that STPD is offering, and a staff member can simply email those opportunities and say, if you have any questions about signing up, either here's who you contact or let me know.
Mhm.
You're an investigator, and I just want to express that I don't know how much bandwidth you have, or in your conversations with Bart, like what percentage of your time is going to be allocated to this. So I want to make sure that it's not like, look, it's Ethan.
This is your only job in
Right,
the whole world.
this is a fraction of what you do, and eventually will do, right, if we ever get there. So anyway, I'm just thinking that might be 2 things. One, that might be an effective way of communicating it as opposed to doing it at an open meeting. Second, in terms of mentors, that would be attending one of these trainings could be something. If you were my mentee, for example, you and I could say, oh, let's go do this,
Yes.
right? Because that, again, enhances relationships, and it has an opportunity for 2 commissioners to say, oh, I'm going to go do X training. And then they actually have an opportunity to talk about that training, which is additional learning. So it could be a suggestion as incorporated into the mentor program, because I think that would be really effective.
Oh, really briefly, I just want to note that Olga added in the chat regarding conversation from a couple minutes ago regarding Murphy Canyon, that probably Alina might have some information regarding that, because she definitely was here when that was getting
Sure.
operationalized. I was putting out there.
Yep.
for-
Yes, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, is there anything, in terms of the CRBs, training that we had prior to this commission that we still have that maybe we can, get onto the drive, just to see kind of what we started out with? I just want to see kind of where we were at before, and what kind of see how we're growing and what we can expand on.
You mean trainings?
Yeah,
So, so these training academies,
Yeah.
what we started with as a committee was what was already called a training academy
Mhm.
that Charmaine had from, I think she'd adapted from the CRB, and maybe the interim CPP had kind of worked with it. So there was this outline, and they were kind of slowly working through the stuff. So that's what the starting point
Got
was
it.
for these.
okay.
And then conversations with different people and gathering things, and then they just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, so, and Elizabeth, just so that you know, when we all were first formed, so there was the CRB, there was the interim CPP that went on for years, but those were all CRB members, and they were slowly sort of leaving. When we started, two holdovers from the CRB became CPP commissioners.
Okay.
Brandon
And
Doug. And then Brandon left about 6 months ago, and Doug is still with us. He'll leave next summer and he'll end his term. So from a historical perspective, because our models were different and because there were certain community members who always had concerns about, you weren't there, but when case review was done by the CRB, they physically went to internal affairs. Physically, a subcommittee, a group, a team together would go to internal affairs because there were many years where the documents of internal affairs were not on a Google Drive and could not leave the premises. And so because they would have conversations with detective sergeants or lieutenants within the department, within internal affairs. And as you could probably see, just based on your short time with us, that was probably helpful because in some ways it was relationship building because there was a dialogue. And yet it lended itself to the perception by parts of our community that there was collusion, there was influence, that the CRB wasn't really doing its job, and that we were too tight. Not we, the old we, were too tight with SDPD. And so there's that history. And so, and at the same time, at our meeting last night, and I know you weren't there, there were longtime members of the public who, of the community that come to our meetings who were talking about how we shouldn't be reinventing the wheel, that we should take advantage of the years of knowledge that, for example, they have. And to my mind, also Brandon and Doug have. I was so grateful in our first year, especially, to have those two voices because we came in not knowing anything. And we had these two voices who could at least give us some historical perspective. They remembered like certain trends or issues that happened with a department, or they could, somebody said, well, why don't we do X? They could say, well, we tried that 5 times before, and here's, you know what I mean? And we are a different model, and it's a different time, and we're a different body. But having that knowledge was super helpful to all of us. And it's not like they tried to make us be the new CRB. They wanted us to be the CPP and go on the way that we're supposed to in accordance with the ordinance, but they could give us a lot of history. So anyway, there's a lot of backstory about how things were. And that has over the years created concerns with community members about our independence and making sure that we hang on to our independence. So that's why that's one of the many reasons why things like training by the department it's a hot issue, right?
Yeah, we need to be sensitive.
That we need to be sensitive, and also ride-alongs. I want to do ride-alongs. I have not fitted into my very busy schedule. And then there are commissioners who have said, absolutely, I am never doing a ride-along.
That's fine, I think.
Are you one of them? Really?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why? Because I don't fully tell me.
I mean, I just, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's something that would, like, I see the perspective through the lens of the officer. If I'm there, they're not behaving in the way that they typically would on the job. Right? As you know, when Alec talks about this, when Commissioner Armanshop talks about this, there's a different type of experience that they have versus, when we see through the lens of the camera on the body-worn camera footage, like what exactly is actually happening on the ground. And it's a different experience entirely. I could be there. I'm gonna be someone that's not trained to be there, experiencing this, and they're not gonna act in the way they do, right? And that's gonna be something that I have to, understand, but it's not necessary for me to be there if I'm also gonna have a different understanding of it separately. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right,
They're
I think we're
gonna
getting
be.
off topic, you guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's SDPD training. I mean, that's another form of SDPD
You did, but
training.
then we were.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm bringing us back.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we talked about that some. Are we ready to move on to D? Okay, so I wanted to talk about what training topics we are gonna prioritize, and I think there's kind of a couple categories. One is, it's like a little cookie thing that maybe we wanna do as a full commission and have it be an agenda item during a business meeting. That might be one category. Another category would be, trainings that we wanna create little modules for, that would be, in this thing that we've talked about before. So anyways, and I think the starting point is probably these two lists that we've already had full commission approval, but I mean, other topics that we brought up today could go on that list as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts of what you think would be topics that we want to prioritize.
Can I ask a question? Do we have a matrix anywhere of who's done what that's on here?
Actually, yes.
Okay, good.
Because I developed, it's maybe something that's super labor intensive to maintain, I don't know, but I created a spreadsheet that has all the commissioners' names on it at the last time I touched it, which was before, when Paul Parker was hired, and he supposedly was using it after that time. Anyway, it had all the commissioners, and then it had a column for every single kind of training that was on these lists.
Okay.
And I think there's a tab for onboarding and anyway, I'm giving you way more information, but yes.
Okay,
And I populated that based on who attended
Yep.
the meetings when the trainings were provided.
Okay.
So when Paul Parker was hired, it was up to date.
okay. And do we know where that is now and who's been responsible for it?
It's on the Google Drive.
And then Jaime and myself have updated a little bit. We always kind of went back and looked at some agendas and figured out when like Sharon Fairley showed up and a couple other things like that. But as you can imagine, a lot of white space in that spreadsheet.
Right, because, and some commissioners that are on that list aren't here anymore, and then maybe Elizabeth hasn't been added yet, but anyhow.
I was just thinking that matrix could help inform the things that we've already established that most of us either haven't had for a long time or most of us have never been through, and it's on the list that's already been approved. You see what I'm saying? Like if there's something that either we've never gotten to or collectively,
Okay,
or,
so I can tell you, I kind
Yeah.
of know,
yeah,
we haven't gotten to POBAR.
right,
Nobody's had that. And
okay,
I think that's kind of a big one, that it would be helpful for us to understand,
totally,
considering the operating procedures process.
yes,
The other one that we haven't done that is on the list is implicit bias. And I think that's something that comes up in every single one of our commission meetings, especially closed session when we're in case review and stuff like that. I think I don't think I'm always really great about keeping my implicit biases in check. Another thing that's come up is these ride-along ideas. Like you said, when are we gonna set up the ride-alongs? That's something that's on these,
ride-alongs or the bus tour things?
the community ride-along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
What
the
you're calling bus tour, right?
whatever it is,
Yeah,
but yes, I think the community, because we've been talking about that for a very long time. I think in terms of building bridges with the community, I think they would really appreciate that, and I think it would be really educational for all of us, because we never got to it, and I know that this has been something that has been talked about for a year, I don't know, I've lost track of time.
Long time.
A very long time.
Every time the ride-along topic comes up.
Yeah, and it's not a ride-along as in, I don't know what we're calling it, but whatever, yeah.
But I think it's included in that 1B. I think it's, a community perspective of how law enforcement approaches community
I
members
see.
with cop watch or community ride-along.
Yes.
That's what you mean, right?
That is what I mean.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Anyway, so there's that one, and then, one that I think not everybody has had, is the case review stuff.
Yes,
Right? Like, I feel like we're all participating in case review, and some people don't have as much of a background as everybody else, so.
yes, and as an overlap with the case review subcommittee that's trying to
Mhm.
evaluate
Mhm.
what changes we want to make to the process we've had for the first 6 months. One of the key components of case review is commissioner education. And I think that maybe not all, but maybe one or two of the concerns about the temporary model that we've been using, I think they could be overcome. Who did I talk? Was it you? I talked to somebody as we were leaving the room on the case review subcommittee, and talking about taking maybe 2 or 3 actual cases that are really hard split vote type cases, right? And having Jinyun or Olga or you or whoever walk us through in small groups, right? Walk us through the case, and this is particularly for new commissioner training. Walk us through the case, have them view certain segments of the BWC, and then have a conversation as if it's a commission reviewing the case for the first time, and talk about like what are the issues that made some commissioners, and it'll probably come out in the conversation that some commissioners went this way and saw this, and other commissioners saw that way. And I think, in our actual recent history, there have been cases like this where there's been a split vote, which are great examples. But I think that actually dissecting it with other people in the room and having an investigator as a part of the conversation to bring the expertise would be really helpful, I think, to talk about the things that often come up. This is training, and it also ties into how our new approach to case review would be, because if we could use that as a part of onboarding or develop that as a part of onboarding, then we may be a little less worried about having commissioners write reports, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just trying to think of,
Mhm.
there's so many reasons why case review is important, but to me, one of the underlying reasons is because I learned more reviewing cases and watching hours and hours of BWC and the way that IA writes things up than I learned from anything else in my first year, for example.
I mean, you touched on a lot of project-based learning, right, principles.
It is.
Like it's applied learning in
Yeah.
that sense. And so I agree completely with that approach. It's something similar to what I did. I worked as an insurance adjuster. And when they had us on board, they had us review or like listen to like certain phone calls of claims, or like dissect a situation that's very complex and talk about the insurance adjustments and why. And, like we have to kind of work with the team on that. And so it's a very complex problem, but you have to come up with a solution. You have to look for all your resources, and like in our case, all the policies that would be relevant to that solution, to that potential, would have to be something that the commissioner themselves would know they exist. Like these policy manuals are there. Let's go search for them. Which ones do you think are most relevant to this case? And why would you look at those in particular to this case? Like having an investigator run us through the process on what you should do when you're investigating something like this. That's something that we can also take on, that perspective.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think it's a great opportunity for learning about something that we are going to continue to have to do. And maybe it could be that they tee it up, a staff member tees it up, but we have to prep before the meeting, just like we used to before you all existed in your current capacity, before January, okay, before we started our current model. You would prep as if you're going into a meeting, and you would come in prepared to go to your group meeting, but in your group meeting, you would have an investigator who can also provide feedback about this, that. Anyway, the more opportunities to learn. And this is for the new commissioners to really help raise their level of understanding this process. So I don't know what we call that, but I've been thinking about it ever since the case review modification subcommittee blah 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 thing that I'm on.
It's like case review training.
It is case review training.
Yeah.
So how many things do you want to put on your top of the list?
Well, it's priorities. We can have a long list and prioritize it, right?
Does it have to come from this?
No, what do you?
I
was
don't
thinking
have a
that's
thought yet. I just wanted to ask before I started trying to think,
Well,
like,
like,
is this,
so the
do I have to
things
pick
that,
the priorities
the
from
things
this
that
list?
aren't on that list that I have also jotted down are the post and the RIPA thing.
Yep.
That something that's come up recently that's quite relevant.
Yeah, you know, I do think parliamentary procedure is on the top of the list as well.
Good, done, alright, right, that's Tuesday.
Early Tuesday.
Yeah,
Love it, thank you,
perfect, yeah.
love it.
I know that we tabled the reporting requirements yesterday.
Mhm.
Would it be safe for me to assume that that is still prioritized because we gotten the ball rolling on that?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah,
You say reporting requirements.
I did not say reporting requirement.
He said reporting requirements.
Yes.
What did
yes.
you just say?
Sure. So this was a new business item that we ended up tabling yesterday. Basically, it's a chaotic miscommunication that we're going to present about reporting requirements that the CPP has regarding Senate Bills 1421, 16, and 2 regarding certain documents that must be publicly disclosed. The long and short of it is, like for OIS cases, in custody death cases, there's a much higher standard for like disclosure
Mm.
in terms of mandatory disclosure than most other
Mhm.
peace officer records in the state. And
Mhm.
similarly for certain kinds of sustained findings and so on.
Mhm.
And so the idea was to try to help prime the commission on, here are the things that we will need to be preparing and publishing in the near future. This has been kind of a thing that's kind of gone in lockstep with kind of creating a semi-annual report and thinking more broadly about what kinds of things do we need to have a public facing sort of not perspective, portion to.
Mhm.
And this has been basically one of the things that Bart and I in particular kind of identified as something to go forward on in terms of doing the things that we're required to do and making sure commissioners understand what we can disclose, what we can't, because I think that's also been a big discussion over the last, like since I've been here about, we want to tell people this, but we can't for this reason, but then there's this law and like trying to kind of give the perspective
Sure.
and understanding.
Got it.
Can I ask, there's this SDPD procedures section, right? There's a little red thing that says no policy statement. Does that mean that we just don't have it, or like that? You know what I'm talking about?
The
Like,
table of contents.
Yeah,
Sheet.
sorry, table of contents sheet. Okay.
Mm.
Oh, I think, so there's the SDPD policy manual, so that's first. And then that just means that there's no policy statement related to body worn cameras, there's no,
So like,
I
policy
think-
statement, what is that, like, does that mean that we don't have the policy with us, like, they
in
don't,
this part,
they don't give it to us, or like,
is that your understanding?
like, I don't understand.
So I'm admittedly a little bit confused by this table of contents myself.
Okay.
So for so I'm gonna kind of go based off like my understanding, try to be as straightforward as possible. The policy manual is kind of like that little 30-page document that kind of goes like 1.01, here's a little paragraph,
Yeah.
1.02, a little paragraph.
Yeah.
Whereas then the procedures are then much more in-depth and longer, right? So I'm curious, when it says no policy statement, was it just not in that really short book?
That's what I think.
Because these, like, I have looked at, used 1.49, I have looked at,
Yeah, I've
used
seen these,
6.03.
I just don't,
So it's like, I think that's where the
Yeah,
difference is,
okay.
but I can't say for certain.
thank you, sorry to go the conversation, but I was just trying to figure out like, what I was looking at.
Okay.
Huh.
So in terms of prioritizing these things and trying to get them on calendar, do we want to have each of us, like, for example, volunteer to try to find speakers for some of these things, or what are we thinking?
Well, this is where I'm probably very naive and cavalier. I was thinking we prioritize stuff and then we ask staff to make it happen. So we don't have to go find the speakers. Is that Is that presumptuous?
So if it's okay, like I'd like maybe take it briefly through on these 5 that we've kind of gone through so far. So we have POBAR, we have implicit bias, community bus tours, experiential like case review training in the sense like you're actively engaging. Like in some, like they're like these split cases that you kind of mentioned before, and reporting requirements. Am I missing anything that we've kind of put
Post
down?
and RIPA.
Post and RIPA, okay.
And I think also the CLEAR Act, because actually all 3 of them have an they all, there's an interplay that.
Okay.
Oh, there's someone on the river board that we had speak at one of our case reviews.
Do you want
the policy
the-
committee, the policy policy committee?
How are we feeling about the Murphy Canyon simulators thing?
What is it exactly again? Like, is it just like you could?
Where the,
I
basically
think
get to
it's-
play computer games.
It's like
It
VR.
was, it was a couple of mine was a couple of hours of law by a lieutenant who was also a lawyer. And then a tour around the training facility, which included the use of tasers, and they have newer tasers, I think now, demonstrated.
On each other.
No, they used them on a dummy, but they talked about the pros and cons, like the limitations. And then there's the simulator training that we were able to volunteer to do, and so.
I think this is highly valuable.
Agreed.
Hands-on experiential learning, it's a different style than just a sitting and listening to train. Now, is it more important than learning about the 5 category? Like, I don't know, more important, but probably you would get a bigger buy-in. And I think it goes to show we're not just taking courses and classes, we're like doing things, we're trying to learn, which I think looks good to police officers and to the community. So it's probably a win. And I would like to do it like tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we just need to get like a solid group of people who have not been through that training and try to find a time when the department will be willing to do that and get people to commit to going to that.
Yeah.
So I guess like to return really quick back to like staff capacity.
Mhm.
Something like POBAR, something like reporting requirements, those are in-house things that we can handle. Like those are things that Bart's qualified to handle. Those are things that Olga's well versed in as well. As long as we're accepting that they're going to be sort of like these short modules where here's like presentation, Q&A, if that's okay, I think that's doable and
Okay.
and can be done in a relatively short time frame. Community bus tours, we've gotten the ball rolling on that. Murphy Canyon, that's an email and some follow-up. Regarding experiential case review, we're going to continue having that conversation on Tuesday. I think that will kind of like set our framework to then how do we then adhere these sorts of models on to whatever we come to next. Implicit bias, I think that's frankly going to be something that ideally we might have someone from outside come.
Yes.
But and that will take more to run time. We're going to talk about like needing to get to contracted or whatever it might be. Even if they're working for free, we need to come to some sort of agreement. And post RIPA CLEAR Act, I'm just going to say that right now, I don't have that understanding. Olga might, but I think that's also one of those things in which it's so far down the road. I think in terms of like we will interact with post and RIPA and CLEAR Act probably more once we have all of our standard operating procedures together. This will be an intersection with our investigations, with the performance auditor when we hire them, that kind of stuff. And then that person will be the one that needs to have that expertise, might be better, at least in-house, be able to present on that stuff.
Okay.
So what then, as we're prioritizing, could we say that like, put not dates to them, but say, since we can do the POBAR stuff in-house, that's the first, these are all our top priorities, but then we'll do the in-house one first, and then the case review next, and then the implicit bias that gives us more time to get someone in, like, so not just prioritizing, but then saying, this is top of our list, so we can go back to the full commission and say, we're gonna start with this, then we're gonna do this, then we're gonna do this.
That's a good idea.
Because if we just say, well, these are our most important, but we don't organize them, then they'll just always be our most important. We don't teach them.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could see that we could probably do, it's September now, but we could probably get 3 or 4 of these in before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Easy,
Easy.
I think.
Yeah, love it.
I think we have reporting requirements in POBAR we could do as early as next meeting, at least one of them.
Why was this agenda item kicked?
It was a miscommunication about like who was gonna present it,
I
and
see.
it came to the agenda late and we didn't know. And
Yeah.
It was just.
I see, okay.
It was a miscommunication. Okay.
But like we can be ready in 13 days. Things like Murphy Canyon, again, like if we get that ball rolling, we can get
Yep.
that going quick.
And I
Same thing with
really
bus
think we
tours.
should, we should prioritize the bus tour. Because
Okay.
part of this is part of everything we do is about our relationship with the community.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, cool. Well, guess what? It's 6:30. So do we feel done on that one? Because I think we all agreed, right?
Yes.
Okay. It was
Yeah.
like consensus action. And any other comments before we adjourn?
And also, do we want to set a new meeting?
Oh,
now,
another
or
meeting, yeah,
do we
that
wanna-
is true. So, what I was thinking is that we would have, if we want to do it every month, do we feel like we need it every month? I think it would be nice to have a meeting in a month from now to follow up on where we're at. You guys agree? So I was thinking the first
Yeah.
month, Thursday of the month, which would be October 2nd. What do you all think?
I won't be here,
You won't be here. Oh, that's right, you're gone.
but please meet without me.
Or we could go for 2 months and do it, November 6th.
Hmm.
That gives us more time to accomplish more
I won't be here.
things. You're a problem child.
I know.
Okay, so maybe not being so rigid about when, we could postpone
When
it
do you
another
travel,
month.
Your Highness?
Oh, yeah.
Just easy.
So, yeah, never mind.
Well, there is a fifth that could maybe make up your fourth, not that I don't want you here, but I'm saying to
Right,
have
like
quorum,
Stephen can
like,
come.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
technically, we have a floater.
Right.
Now, yeah, do just have it on.
Or do you wanna just, or do you wanna do, we could do a different date in November or October.
I think we should do it sooner.
You do, so do it in October?
I think so.
Okay, so I was just thinking like a Thursday because do you have like other committees that meet, you know what I mean? So we're not
Yeah.
conflicting. Like the 9th,
Yeah, 'cause I-
not good? No?
Yeah, Your Highness.
Okay,
wow.
how about the 16th? We just go, I'm just going Thursdays.
What?
I'm here the 16th.
16?
I can do the 16th as long as there's no other committee meetings.
That, who knows at this
Did you
point.
say you're good?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it the 16th.
Are we good with like 5, or does the other time work for people?
Sure.
Can we do later if possible? I'm sorry. Is there any chance, what's the latest everyone can meet?
4:30.
Damn it, it's so tough getting down here from Rancho Bernardo. Traffic is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah. But if 5 is the latest, then I will do 5.
I want to be sensitive to you just because I don't work, right? Like I take the trolley, so.
Yeah.
They pay me no matter.
5:30? Going once, going twice? No takers. Okay, fine. That works.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate our discussion today. This was good.
That was good too. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Are we adjourned?
Yeah, we're adjourned.
Great.